Peace. Shalom. Hut. Welcome back to chapter 17 of Bowls of Fire. Please don't forget the screenshot so you can read along with me if you like. Please don't hesitate to like, comment, and subscribe. Your feedback is greatly appreciated. Pre-game 17, the Thunderhead pitchers. Only the ignorant speak of devotional service, karma yoga, as being different from the analytical study of the material world, sanhaka. Those who are actually learned say that he who applies himself well to one of these paths achieves the results of both. Swami Bhagavaddanta, Bhagavad Gita. As mentioned earlier, starting pitcher Pope Francis is a valuable player for the Thunderhead team because he is a proactive leader and an idealistic humanitarian who is struggling with the numerous problems that have been ignored or mishandled by his predecessors. The Pontiff should have been an excellent starting pitcher for the Thunderheads, despite his trouble with the curveball on his coat of arms and the historical capitalistic greed fostered by the nations and its wealth. Middle relief pitcher, molecular biologist James D. Watson. James D. Watson co-discovered the structure of DNA with Francis Crick in 1953, and along with Maurice Wilkins, the three researchers were awarded the 1962 Nobel Peace Prize or Nobel Prize in physiology or medicine. This discovery was similar to pitching a knuckleball that changed the western direction of history. The knuckleball is a pitch with minimized spin that causes an unpredictable motion or corkscrew, allowing the pitch to change direction in mid-flight. Similarly to the DNA model in a double helix held together by an adenine, thymine, guanine, and cytosine base pairs that spirals beautifully into two chains in opposite directions. This discovery showed that life was grounded by physics and chemistry, an idea also evident in ancient Egypt 4,500 years ago. With Watson and Crick's discovery, mutations or differences in the sequence of nucleotides could be mapped directly to differences in the amino acid sequences of proteins. Francis Crick coined the term central dogma for the information flow from DNA to RNA to protein. However, Watson explains that the information can also flow directly from protein to DNA, as it does in the case of lambda crow protein. In his book, Watson clarifies how Francis Jacob, Jacques Monod, and Andrew Loaf collaborated to tackle the gene switching problem in our intestinal bacterium E. coli. The problem revolved around the use of lactose in the bacterium. Watson explains, in order to digest, the bacterium produces an enzyme called beta galactosidase, which breaks the nutrient into two subunits, simpler sugars called galactose and glucose. When lactose is absent in the bacterial medium, the cell produces no beta galactosidase. When, however, lactose is introduced, the cell starts to produce the enzyme, concluding that it is the presence of lactose that induces the production of beta galactosidase. Jacob and Monod set about discovering how that induction occurs. Jacob and Monod showed molecular biologists that a protein could interact directly with the gene. This is the reverse of central dogma. Many scientists today believe that the central dogma has lost its centrality. In light of the Human Genome Project, Watson believes Darwin has been proven correct, for molecular similarities show how all organisms are related by common descent. Also, a successful mutation is favored by natural selection and passed on to other generations. Watson also understands that a substantial amount of human behavior is governed by the genes. Yet behavior that is essential for human survival is sternly governed by natural selection. Actually, the evidence is supporting that our behavior in the classical world is governed by both natural selection and horizontal gene transfer by bacteriophages. Nonetheless, Watson has tweaked his pitch to also accommodate the reverse of the central dogma, protein to RNA to DNA, and this is the primary process described in ancient Egyptian texts. Middle relief picture, behavioral psychologist B.F. Skinner, 1904 to 1920. A good pitcher should be able to pitch a variety of fastballs, and behavioral psychologist B.F. Skinner has the art mastered. Skinner uses the cutter or the cut fastball to slash right down to an important point. And he reads, and this is Skinner, either we do nothing and allow a miserable and probably catastrophic future to overtake us, or we use our knowledge about human behavior to create a social environment in which we shall live productive and creative lives, and do so without jeopardizing the chances that those who follow us will be able to do the same. Something like a Walden 2 would not be a bad start. This pitch by Skinner shows his cut fastball is working correctly because we get the pitch. He is asking us to act wisely by creating a better environment for future humanity through knowledge. A strong pitch like this is also called a buzzsaw, depending on the velocity of Skinner's balls. His pitch can range anywhere between a fastball and a hard slider. Now let's look at Skinner's hard slider, which he pitched after writing his utopian novel. In 1948, B.F. Skinner published The Walden 2. His utopian novel, originally entitled The sun is but a morning star. The idea of the book emerges during a dinner conversation with a friend during 1945, where Skinner speculated about what young people would do when they returned from World War II. Would they settle for the American way of life, find a job, marry a wife, buy a house, and produce children, or would they continue their crusading spirit by exploring a new way of life? 3 years later, Skinner had a novel about an experimental community advocating the five principles of Henry David Thoreau's Walden, 1854. The five principles are: no way of life is inevitable. Examine your own closely. Number two, if you do not like it, change it. Number three, but do not try to change it through political action. Even if you succeed in gaining power, you will not likely be able to use it any more wisely than your predecessors. Number four, ask only to be left alone to solve your problems in your own way. And five, simplify your needs. Learn how to be happy with fewer possessions. Atlas and Morris, 2009. With a mindset similar to the center fielder Karl Marx, Skinner's utopian contents center on social justice and practices ensuring health and leisure time while discouraging coercive control. Yet critics do not see social justice as separate from Skinner's ideas that dismiss purpose, mind, and freedom. The critics had missed Skinner's hard slaughter on the value of justice, or social justice rather. Just like subcatcher David Hume, Skinner believes in determinism, the view that every event has a lawful cause. However, a human as a goal-oriented free agent conflicts with determinism as explained by Skinner below in his book Science and Human Behavior in 1953. And here's the excerpt out of that from Mr. Skinner. Science not only describes, it predicts. It deals not only with the past but with the future, nor is prediction the last word. To the extent that relevant conditions can be altered or otherwise controlled, the future can be controlled. If we are to use the methods of science in the field of human affairs, we must assume that behavior is lawful and determined. We must expect to discover that what a man does is the result of specifiable conditions that, once these conditions have been discovered, we can anticipate to some extent determine his actions. The possibility is offensive to many people, regardless of how we stand to gain from supposing that human behavior is the proper subject matter of science. No one who is a product of Western civilization can do so without a struggle. We simply do not want such a science. Quoted in Hall and Lindsay, 1957, page 481. These ideas of Skinner are incisive, suggesting that a science of human behavior is necessary and we can control our behavior if we understand it. But it seems that we do not want control and understanding. For example, if the internal will directing us is our viral heritage of DNA, we must see ourselves as we really are and make a change against the viral will that influences our behavior. Consider our passion for war and killing. This is viral behavior that we may be able to change. Similarly, baseball is sports warfare, and it also describes competitive genetic viral behavior without killing. Perhaps our penchant for war on the international scale could be downgraded into a simple, bloodless baseball game rather than random wholesale killing through drones, bombs, guns, and invasions. After all, if Tolstoy is correct, warfare seems to be a nonlinear system that leaders cannot guide due to unexpected events. Consider Nobel laureate Fritz Haber, who pioneered the use of poison gas in World War I. As the story is generally known, in April of 1915, the German army used chlorine gas for the first time against the French at the Price in Belgium. The French soldiers saw billowy clouds of yellow-green toxins drifting towards them, and then they inhaled a peppery pineapple odor that left them with a chest pain, burning throats, and a slow death by asphyxiation. When these attacks began, the Allied troops wore masks of cotton pads soaked in urine to neutralize the chlorine. Fritz Haber directed the poison gas offense. He directed the poison gas offense, which his wife Clara, also a chemist, must have resented, for she killed herself with his pistol. This tragedy, along with the legacy of chemical warfare and the fact that nitrogen now contaminates our environment, has polluted Haber's contribution. Still, it is interesting that 5 months after the Germans pioneered the use of chlorine gas at Ypres, the British lost the Battle of Loos, even though they used chlorine gas and outnumbered the Germans. Under the direction of General Sir Douglas Haig, the British released tons of the accessory, the code name for chlorine. The toxic chemical blew back on the British troops because of the wind, causing about 2,600 casualties and 7 deaths. Despite the 1899 Hague Convention's prohibition against employing poison or poison arms, the International Peace Treaty could not stop the Germans or the Allies from using poison gas. This vicious, uncontrollable war technology is a forerunner to the indifferent, calculating cold sight of future strong artificial intelligence without a moral code. Relative to Skinner's determinism based on lawful cause and effect, it may be possible to manipulate or control causes to produce desirable behavior, yet unpredictable events will still happen. Also, Skinner ignores the mechanisms within the individual, such as genetic factors, yet he believes personality or behavior patterns can be controlled by manipulating the environment. Now, an example of accidental conditioning, what Skinner considers superstition behavior or superstitious behavior, is the rain-making dance of certain tribes, where it may or may not rain after the dance. When it does rain, the dance is reinforced. Thus, the whole is no greater than the sum of its parts. However, the event of dance then rain is very similar to Einstein's idea of spooky action at a distance, what is called really entanglement. Einstein's thought that an action is one space-time field cannot affect an action far away in another field of space-time. However, in quantum theory, this spooky action is possible because of entanglement. If you measure one's particle spin, you will know the spin of its correlated particle, and this violates the locality principle. The experiment of John Bell proved that the prediction of quantum theory violates our illusory beliefs about locality. John Bell was an Irish particle accelerator designer, not a theoretical physicist, who resolved the debate between Albert Einstein and Niels Bohr about the emerging quantum theories in the 1920s and 1930s. Einstein, Boris Podolsky, and Nathan Rosen, the trio known as EPR, believed quantum theory was incomplete. In 1935, EPR proposed a thought experiment about locality, or that our physical reality is caused by local interactions between material particles in the field. This means that an action in one space-time field can cannot affect an action far, far away in another field of space-time. Yet, in quantum theory, this spooky action is possible because of entanglement. If you measure one particle's spin, you will know the spin of its correlated particle, and this violates the locality principle. EPR believe that the quantities still exist in local reality, even if we do not observe them. Then John Bell, after decades of debate, resolved the issue of locality, that is, whether or not physical reality can be instantly affected by the action far, far away. Experiments by Alan Aspect and colleagues in 1982 at the University of Paris ultimately showed that physical reality is non-local, and this property of action at a distance is counterintuitive, foundational component of quantum mechanics. So in some cases, what the rainmaker freely decides to do here instantly influences what is true somewhere else, perhaps the other side of the forest, or the planet, or the galaxy. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Nonetheless, B.F. Skinner's strong pitch for cause and effect and determinism makes him a good pitcher for the Thunderheads rather than the Diamond Hearts, who support new experiments validating quantum entanglement and non-locality. Setup pitches Machine Dream Pitching Team. Along with the Thunderheads pitcher, Pope Francis, James D. Watson, and B.F. Skinner, the fast deliveries of the Machine Dream pitching teams are available. This pitching alliance delivers the techno-progressive ideology of Ray Kurzweil, Aubrey de Grey, Nick Bostrom, and James J. Hughes, a network favoring materialism, the theory that matter is primary over mind. These technocrats profess that we will outgrow our humanity by eliminating aging and enhancing our intellectual, physical, and physiological capacities as we become post-human by emerging our intelligence into super intelligent machines. Let's take a glance at their power pitches. In January of 2013, the Singularity Institute changes its name to Machine Intelligence Research Institute, MIRI. Inventor and futurist Ray Kurzweil has served as a director of the Singularity Institute, a nonprofit organization with an advisory board including Oxford philosopher Nick Bostrom and biomedical gerontologist Aubrey de Grey. Within the network, in sociologist James J. Hughes, who is executive director of the Institute of Ethics and Emerging Technologies, IEET, that he founded in 2004 with Nick Bostrom, the board chair from 2005 through 2011. Within this materialist framework, their ideology favors strong AI or greater than human intelligent machine versus weak AI, machines not exceeding human intelligence, and friendly AI, greater than human intelligent machines acting ethically. From the transhumanist desire, or what the transhumanist desire is, simplification, normalization, personhood, androgynous post-genderism, and from this homogenized product, with the help of the reverse engineered human brain or electronic double, a super intelligent AI without human values will emerge similar to the left field foglet, deviant gunlet. Now, Machine Dream pitcher Ray Kurzweil describes a series of 6 epochs from the Big Bang evolution of atoms to the development of human brain and the birth of technology in his book, The Singularity is Near, in 2005. According to Kurzweil, the human will merge with technology in the year 2045 to override our biology. solve human problems, and amplify human creativity as well as our ability to act on our destructive inclinations. Kurt Weill calls this mental or metal hybrid merger the singularity. In his final epoch, the universe will wake up, intelligence will saturate matter and energy. We will not be bound by the speed of light, and our human machine civilization will infuse the universe with creativity and intelligence. Kurtz, Kurzweil's singularity or merger of human intelligence with technology will begin in Epoch 5. However, his admission that our destructive inclinations would be amplified is disturbing. Yet the U.S. is going forward with DARPA's $26 million military program that aims to implant electronic devices in the brains of military personnel with psychiatric disorders such as depression. This would allow DARPA and scientists in the University of California, San Francisco, and Massachusetts General Hospital to emulate the human brain's neurological circuits. Neuronal neuronal circuits, sorry. Emulating the brain is the necessary first step to create the first super intelligent AI. Their linear logic may be that the nation that creates the first super intelligent AI is the nation that rules the world. In addition, London-born Aubrey de Grey's machine dream pitch is to delete the human telomerase gene to cure cancer, as if it were malfunctioning computer software. Stem cells, however, require telomerase, so de Grey suggesting an infusion of new stem cells every decade. Another problem is that earlier and recent experiments on mice suggest that the telomerase gene has rejuvenating effects. Now the scientific consensus on aging is the multiple biological process driven by different molecular factors diminish organ function as age advances, so deleting the telomerase gene may not work. Also, recent research reveals that the coincidental cycles of the human growth hormone HGH and telomerase as HGH, a protein hormone affecting all endocrine glands and every organ's development, declines with aging, so does telomerase. Also, telomerase carries its own reverse transcriptase, an important enzyme with an RNA template for DNA replication that may be necessary for human horizontal gene transfer and other tasks. Because this pitch by de Grey is not over the plate, his reasoning system based solely on linear logic means in reasoning may have to be qualified with further research on the value of our non-coding microbial genome, a potential genetic toolbox. Next, machine dream pitcher Nick Bostrom is a Swedish philosopher and director of the Future of Humanity Institute and faculty of philosophy at Oxford University. Bostrom envisions the goals of super intelligent AI singleton as colonizing a large part of the universe, facilitated by the cost of celestial resources declining, as well as the expanding infrastructure growing at some fraction of the speed of light from the planet, until the expanding universe prevents this. However, a scarcity of necessary rare metals is already hindering digital and green technologies, and Andrew Bloodworth, who is a science director for mineral and waste at the British Geological Survey UK, supports that recycling cannot meet the demand. Also, the future supply of iridium, lithium, rare earth elements, tellurium, and germanium, butchered all that, for new digital and low carbon technologies is in jeopardy because metal producing China reduced its exports of rare earth elements. In 2011, over half of the iridium supply came from China. If Bostrom's reference to celestial resources includes technology metals currently in use, then he has made a mistake about declining costs, for the supply is going down and the cost is going up. Regarding to the super intelligent singleton, Bostrom discusses the cognitive enhancement of AI that will increase its goals achievement and the possibilities that the AI agent is in a position to become the first super intelligence and thereby potentially obtain a decisive advantage in enabling the agent to shape the future of Earth originating life and accessible cosmic resources according to its preferences. He also claims it seems that a super intelligent singleton, a super intelligent agent that faces no significant intelligent rivals or opposition, that is thus in a position to determine global policy unilaterally, would have instrumental reason to perfect the technologies that would make it better able to shape the world according to its preferred designs. Although Bostrom is using very vague language, it is obvious that the first superintelligent singleton, while control life, cosmic resources, and rule the globe with its intimidating metal will of linear logic. Bostrom concludes that his orthogonality thesis implies that we cannot assume that the superintelligent AI will share our values. Regarding his orthogonality thesis, intelligence to Bostrom roughly corresponds to the capacity of instrumental reasoning, that is, instrumental rationality, skill at prediction, planning, and means ends reasoning in general. His orthogonality thesis, combining variations in intelligence level with variations in motivation for final goals. He states that it is easier to create an AI with simple goals rather than one with human-like set of values and dispositions. What constitutes part of the value loading problem relates to prudent human reaction and moral justification. Bostrom believes that this should not blind us to cognitive systems without prudent reason and moral justification that are very powerful and able to exert a strong influence on the world. Bostrom's fastball is straight to the point. It's straight to the point. It is easier to create a superintelligence that values nothing but calculating the decimals of pi. Yet, predictability is another problem, for the superintelligent AI may infringe on human interests, eliminate potential threats to itself, or acquire extreme levels of power. From his account, Bostrom seems to be aware of scientist Stephen Wolfram's research on the future of scientific computing, for as Wolfram has discovered, picking the simplest model advances scientific computing, and a small program can produce complex behavior. Now, future machine minds will be post-humans, and post-human values also exist. According to Bostrom, some of our values may be outside the current biological constitution, and we can value other things than our personal identity. Beyond Plato, Aristotle, Nietzsche, Marx, Martin Luther King, and the grand vision of transhumanism asks us to explore value realms outside our biological mode of being. To this aim, global security is primary due to existential risk of probabilities related to planetary disasters. So morally, there is an urgency for the transhumanist vision with its core value of freedom to explore transhumanism and posthumanism. As a hypothetical example, Bostrom posits the replacement of 6 billion people by AI, stating that an act such as this ought to be resisted on moral grounds. For this reason, all should have the opportunity to become post-human rather than having the existing population merely supplemented or worse, replaced by a new set of post-human people. Global security with surveillance and the technological progress are two necessary conditions for derivative values of tampering with nature, peace, attempting technological change, being pragmatic, allowing diversity, caring about sentience, and saving lives through life extension, anti-aging research, and cryonics. Finally, James J. Hughes, who received his PhD in psychology from the University of Chicago, also argues for the singularity using linear logic. He advocates democratic transhumanism, explaining that persons are aware beings such as human, apes, and sentients, cetaceans, or whales or dolphins. This reminds one of Venge's comment about post-humans more like whales than humans. Hughes claims that the closer the machine minds are to human minds, the more likely they will retain the characteristics of personhood, while aspiring to post-genderism. In Humanity's End in 2010, a book by Nicholas Agar, who is against radical enhancement, reviews Kurzweil's idea of uploading our brains into non-biological machines. Agar argues that this may cause human death. Neither Agar nor Kurzweil explain how this could be done, but here is a possible scenario. Consider that the technology metals such as iridium, lithium, rare earth elements, tellurium, and germanium continue to become scarce on Earth and recycling is inefficient. Perhaps the necessary technology metals could be salvaged from outer space or a nearby supernova explosion. Still, Earth's diminishing technology resources may motivate the elite technocrats to persuade masses of humanity to become human equivalent automation. With one-sidedness similar to The Walking Dead and an awareness resembling clinical depression, these self-aware daemons might function in larger sentience as simple digital processors monotonously performing their duty for a very long time. After this digital genocide of the majority of Earth's population, the elite technocrats on Earth may then opt to blindly merge the walking metal dead into a massive commune machine of individualized nanobots. Put simply, the means to this end would result in a casual chain of person suicides, but the super intelligent nanobot would survive. Actually, the whole process of becoming a hybrid machine person, a metal dumb bot, would be initiated by the human desire for life extension, enhancement, super intelligence, personhood, and the use of narrow means in reasoning. Advocating the radical enhancement should be banned, and the cognitive enhancement leads to self-alienation. The following enlightening statements by Agar shows that Kurzweil's assumption contradicts Hughes's democratic transhumanism. If Kurzweil is right, post-humans will continue to increase their powers while ours will remain substantially static. In our words, the power structure of the knowledgeable elite dominating the uninformed masses in human history will be restructured into the super intelligent AI dominating the majority of unenhanced humans. As Agar clearly understands, this dangerous plan of democratic transhumanism is not what most humans want. Relative to Agar's review, other prophets of technology such as business forecaster Stuart Brand, inventor Ivan Sutherland, and Vinton Cerf of Google, one of the fathers of the internet, refused to speculate on the future of computing, while inventor Danny Hillis, quantum computing researcher Michael Friedman, and Nathan Mervoid, former chief technology officer at Microsoft, only predict that computers will be closely connected to our brain. From this brief literature review of futurists and scientists, one gathers that transhumanism may be a developing intellectual and social movement in American society. Yet scientists and other experts have concerns about what properties constitute the nature of a person, and they are not in consensus regarding the roles of human values and aesthetics, biotechnology, and human enhancement in the creation of the first AI, and whether or not it should be weak, friendly, or strong. Put simply, the singularity may happen due to the persuasive linear logic of the materialistic technocrats and the advance of technologies, or it may not happen due to natural disaster, atomic warfare, or American disinterest in human enhancement and political moral equality with animals and post-human machines due to our more holistic 21st century science, quantum mechanics, and classical physics that employs classical logic, valuing truth, and intuitionistic logic, emphasizing proof in an attempt to understand the relationship between mind and matter, thoughts and actions. Now, this quadruple power pitch of the machine dream pitching team is a killing fastball down the middle to the plate because it hurls the speculative end of our humanity through a material merger with metal technology. This may happen. However, both the Thunderheads and the Diamond Hearts are acting on the same general idea or universal or universal that works in practice for both teams. The idea of a creative human destiny embracing the entire universe that requires a metallic merger with humans. The machine dreamers plan to accomplish this by merging humans with artificial metal intelligence, while the early culture legacies of ancient Egypt, early China, and the Navajo and many other reinforce that it can be done naturally through a horizontal gene transfer of human DNA with a metallic bacterial phage. Both the dream machiners and early cultural legacies are talking about a hybrid evolutionary union of the human with the metallic. As described by the science of early culture and the historical visionaries, embracing the cosmos is transformation into a crystallized quasi-hybrid being or origin where time expands and space collapses due to quantum mechanical dynamics or entanglement and non-locality. Wade Kurzweil has a similar idea in a distorted form, for he invents the state of being mind into a metal matter of describing non-biological matter as an intelligence composed of swarms of micron nanobots that infuse the cosmos. He also describes non-biological intelligence as follows. What I should say is that intelligence is more powerful than cosmology. That is, one matter evolves into smart matter. Matter fully saturates with intelligent processes. It can manipulate other matter and energy to do its bidding through suitably powerful engineering. Today, new scientists support the cyclical potential of our cosmos due to lawful time reverse, will is delayed choice experiment, and so on, as well as the potential of human consciousness for cosmic embrace due to the nature of quantum non-locality and entanglement. Comparatively, Kurzweil's vision of embracing the cosmos through superintelligent matter is a thought pattern similar to the ancient Egyptian, early Christian, Navajo, and other visionary views that describe embracing the cosmos through mind. However, in light of our impressive historical legacy that advocates the continuity of mind, it seems that the technocrats are caught up in the quicksand of materialism in a manner similar to the tarot's hangman, who is trapped between heaven and earth. Nonetheless, the machine dreamers keep pitching those high-tech fast balls. In summary, the ideological battle between the Thunderheads and the Diamond Hearts is about the meaning of intelligence, that also the subjective experience of human consciousness, our self-awareness, our sentience, our ability to feel subjective perceptions and emotions, and finally our capacity for sapience or wisdom, qualities that greater than human intelligent machines may consider garbage according to Bostrom's theoretical perspectives about the super intelligent will into with the capacity to saturate the celestial empire until the expansion of the universe intervenes. Dark, cold, expanding cosmic isolation forever may be the ultimate destiny for human machine experiment. Our consciousness preserved with a piece of DNA bolted to a metal nanobot. Perhaps this DNA houses human will and intentionality and is semi-conscious as some scientists think. A technological innovation in Researchers will manipulate, store, and read DNA for its recognized potential as a strong medium allows its viability for thousands of years, requiring no active maintenance other than a cold, dry, and dark environment. Yet, a compromise has been possible between technology and humans. Advancing technology is a system balanced by complex historicity of humanities. According to Stephen Wolfram, how a system behaves cannot be predicted computationally because the computational steps are almost equivalent to the evolution of the system itself. One must evolve with the system to discover the outcome. And that's what we are doing here in the game of the centuries, trying to understand our position in history and the evolutionary process. Accordingly, it is essential for all game players and fans to become involved in guiding technological innovation to create the future of technology with the humanities and scientific researchers. Perhaps the singularity is a sign that we are listening to the logic of our non-conscious and shrouds a lost evolutionary survival message, for there seems to be an equivalence between possible destinies of man-made metal crystal through death and man-made metal jacket through technological power. Perhaps the technocrats' metal vision to merge the human with a machine is linked to human aspirations that are grounded by the idea of horizontal gene transfer, the merger between a metal binding bacteriophage and organic human DNA. We've come to an end of chapter 17 or pregame 17. When we return, we will be on pregame 18, which is just called the Diamond Heart. So we're at the Diamond Hearts part of the book. Well, thank y'all for coming out. God bless you. Good night.